When was the last time you looked in the mirror and asked yourself if you were truly alive, or just existing? Not if you were successful, not if you were entertained, not if you were comfortable, but alive. Be honest. How many of your days pass in a blur of routine, where nothing challenges you, nothing tests you, nothing forces you to grow? You wake up, scroll through your phone, follow the same patterns, repeat the same conversations, and yet in the silence of your own mind, you feel it, the haunting suspicion that you are wasting something sacred, that you are quietly dying in slow motion. We don't notice it because the enemy doesn't come with violence, it doesn't come with noise, it comes with comfort, it comes with convenience, it comes with ease. Comfort is the silent assassin of the human spirit. It whispers that you're fine as you are, that tomorrow will always be there, that life should never hurt, and the more you listen, the more you shrink, the more you surrender. Until one day, without even realizing it, you wake up and discover you've built a life where you've never truly lived. Friedrich Nietzsche saw this coming. He called it the rise of the last man, a creature who no longer dreams, no longer risks, no longer strives. The last man seeks only safety, small pleasures, and the avoidance of pain. He has no higher purpose. He survives, but he never thrives. And Nietzsche's warning was clear. When the last man dominates, civilization itself loses its greatness. Look around you today. Isn't that exactly what we're becoming? A world obsessed with comfort, terrified of pain, unwilling to risk anything real. But history tells us the same story again and again. Rome began as a struggling republic, hardened by war, discipline, and necessity. But when wealth poured in, when luxuries multiplied, when citizens grew fat on their own abundance, the empire rotted from within. Plato in the Republic warned that when societies drown in freedom without responsibility, apathy spreads like a disease. People lose the discipline to govern themselves, and soon they beg for tyrants to rule them. It's not oppression that destroys civilizations first. It's comfort. Now look inward. How many times have you chosen silence over truth because it was easier? How many times have you ignored your dreams because chasing them meant risk? How many hours have you traded to screens and distractions instead of confronting your own restless mind? Every time you choose the easy path, you train yourself in weakness, and weakness over time becomes your identity. This is how comfort kills, not with a blow, but with slow erosion. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian executed for resisting the Nazis, understood this better than anyone. He wrote about what he called the theory of stupidity. He argued that stupidity is not a lack of intelligence, but the condition that arises when people give up their inner freedom. They stop questioning, they stop resisting, they stop thinking. Why? Because it is easier to obey, to follow, to drift. Comfort makes obedience sweet, and in that sweetness people become harmless and therefore powerless. Evil does not need their passion, it only needs their passivity. Machiavelli, the great realist, argued that necessity is what sharpens human character. Hardship forces ingenuity, struggle creates strength. But abundance and ease, they soften us until we cannot endure even the smallest discomfort. You see it today everywhere. People collapsing under online criticism, paralyzed by minor inconveniences, drowning in anxiety while surrounded by luxuries kings could never imagine. This is not progress. This is collapse wearing the mask of progress. The greatest illusion of comfort is that it gives you time. It tells you, do it later, speak later, create later, risk later. But later is a lie. Later never arrives. Later is the story you tell yourself while your courage withers and your potential dies. And one day you wake up with the crushing realization that your life has passed, not with tragedy, but with nothing. That's the ultimate failure. Not death, but never truly living. The Stoics knew this, which is why they practiced voluntary discomfort. Seneca slept on hard floors, Marcus Aurelius embraced cold and fatigue, Epictetus, once a slave, reminded himself that every luxury is a chain disguised as freedom. They chose hardship not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they knew it was the only antidote to weakness. By embracing discomfort, they reminded themselves of their strength. They forged freedom in the fire of struggle. So what does this mean for you? It means the doorway out of your emptiness is hidden in the very things you avoid. The hard conversation you postpone, the truth you bury, the risk you delay, the dream you suffocate. Each one is a key, and every time you step into discomfort, you unlock a deeper part of yourself, a part that comfort will never allow you to meet. Let me tell you a story. During World War II, in bombed-out cities, families starved together. Children grew up under the shadow of death, and yet many survivors later described those years not only as tragic, but strangely meaningful. They had nothing, but they had each other. They were tested, and in the fire of suffering, they discovered a strength that would carry them for life. Now look at us. Surrounded by abundance, we feel empty. Surrounded by safety, we are terrified. Surrounded by freedom, we are slaves to our own comfort. Isn't that a paradox? Struggle forged meaning. Comfort erased it. The names we still whisper. Socrates, who drank the poison rather than betray truth. Spartacus, who rose in chains to defy an empire. Bonhoeffer, who chose the gallows over silence. They were not comfortable men, but they were alive. They mattered. Their lives carved meaning into history. And here you are, standing before the same choice, to drift quietly into the grave of comfort, or to step into the storm of discomfort and claim a life that matters. Because history does not remember the comfortable. It remembers the bold. It remembers the ones who risked, who bled, who suffered, and in suffering became free. Comfort will cradle you, lull you, and eventually suffocate you. But discomfort, that fire you fear, is the birthplace of your soul. So I ask you now directly, are you living or are you just safe? Because safety is not life. Safety is the slow death of the human spirit. Life is risk, life is struggle, life is the storm. Comfort is our greatest enemy. And the only way to defeat it is to choose the very thing you've been running from. Step into the storm. Because only there, in the fire of discomfort, will you finally discover that you were never meant to drift. You were meant to live.